Hey, everybody. Well, here we are in good faith in different settings. Just for clarification, Judah, you and I are not fighting. That's not why we're in separate rooms. Right.
Not currently fighting. Correct.
Not saying we haven't or we won't, but in the moment, that's not when we're apart. For those faithful listeners of In Good Faith, which, by the way, babe, I mentioned this when I was recording just a 3-minute episode for last week. Our In Good Faith audience doesn't have a name. And I feel like all good podcasts, the listeners have a name. Like our friends.
I didn't know that.
Well, yeah. Let me inform you.
Yeah, but don't you think that can get a little bit cheesy or no?
I don't know. I'd be curious.
Like, what am I leaning back now? Look at this.
I'd be curious for people to speak for themselves if it's cheesy or not. It's just nice to be able to.
Let's say that. If you're out there and you love this podcast, I actually ran into a person a couple of days ago at 8 p.m. out on the streets, and they said, actually, I really like your podcast. And the actually was not totally encouraging. But
are we surprised by this? Or?
Yeah, there was slight surprise, I think, in that person's voice, but nonetheless, I was encouraged. So yeah, if you want to be called something, you could just be called Friends of the Podcast.
I know, but that's feels so, I don't know. I do see a benefit of addressing hey, faithers. I don't know. I'm so bad at naming things, so I always do that. But anyway.
GFers?
What's that?
Judah, that's
GFers?
GFers.
GFers.
The faithers?
The good faithers? The GFers?
IGFers?
The IGFers. So yeah, for people who are listening consistently and who wait on the edges of their seats on Mondays for new episodes to come out, you will have noticed that we have not had new episodes the last few weeks. And we are going to get into it today, why, or kind of what our life has been. And basically, the last month has been a series of unplanned, unforeseen, and some unfortunate events. And so obviously we'll tell our story and what our life has been like. And, I was reading the news yesterday and saw all of the mass shootings that just happened a few days ago in our country. And in light of that, what we have been through feels very simple, So I always want to say things like that to put it in perspective. But I do want to talk about what we've gone through while it's still really fresh and new and shape it in the way of where is God when things don't work out? When things don't go according to plan, which you know me, I love a plan. There's not planning is a love language. You're in a meeting for something for church today, and they were almost apologizing for planning so far in advance. I was like, oh, no. This is my love language. I love a plan.
Yeah.
But when you make a plan and things don't go according to plan, it's easy to just ask, where is God? Or when life feels chaotic or things are going out of your control in a not positive way. And we've asked ourselves that question quite a bit this last month or so. So we'll kick it off. Babe, I will.
I feel like, by the way, to look at you, the camera is up here. So everyone, I just want you to know I'm trying to look at the camera, but you're right there. I'm
trying to figure that out in this new format too. Also, please give feedback.
Yeah.
Look at the camera. It's weird.
Yeah.
Because I want to look at.
Because that's me looking at the camera.
Okay.
And that's me looking at you. Can you tell the difference?
Can you tell the difference with me? This is me looking at you. And at the camera. You.
Yeah, I kind of like you looking at me, actually.
Perfect. Well, I like to look at you because you're.
I like how it looks.
Okay, perfect. Well, that's settled. So one problem solved. Check that off the list.
Okay.
I don't know if it's going to diminish just my computer screen. I look very sunburnt. It's actually not sunburnt. It's just.
Yeah, I was going to say, no, you will do not get sunburned. You're very careful about that, frankly.
So anyway, the last month started out incredible, and this was planned. You and I got a week and a half together out of the country, and we had the most glorious time.
Well, I thought it was longer than a week and a half.
We left.
Just by ourselves without kids.
Without the kids, it was a week and a half. And did we not have the best time? And before we get into all the sad stuff, can we just go back to those incredible whatever 11 days of me and you and no cell phone,
No phone.
and beach and countryside, and it was just heavenly. So wonderful. What's your favorite memory from that from that trip you and I took? By the way, we were in the south of France, which kind of sounds so bougie. That's where we were. Hey, I have an in good faith mug, so you know what?
Oh my word. Chelsea does incredible trip planning and blew me away with not only the great spots and places we went, but the great deals that you got. It was so meaningful. I mean, it's tough to feel better than walking to dinners at night together, by the ocean out there, and just the anticipation of going to dinner. And in most cases, we were just gonna feel it out. And whatever spot we saw, we were gonna go with. In fact, I think every night that's what we did. And it was
one
just
place,
fun.
one time we called it too and got a reservation for that evening, but that was it. Actually, as much as I love a plan, I don't love a plan on vacation. Like, I like a great plan for a spot, but I don't like a place that I have to be all the time. So,
and I definitely want to say that I read 3 full books on this trip. I never do that. I
love that so much that obviously I love to read, but you got into like golf history books. You're reading stories
golf
about
history books. It was crazy.
And so sitting on a lounger next to you on the beach, you got a sparkling water, I had an Aperol Spritz, and us like reading side by side. Oh, it was, if there is a heaven, that is my heaven. And quality time with you is just absolutely incredible. And that fuels me and fills me like nothing else. Because it's interesting days together, how it's almost like every day is peeling back a layer. And then all of a sudden you get to, I can't remember, you get to like 10 days in, which would I don't think we do very often, but it's just like the meaningful conversation and the ease. And it was just, we've had a card game that we played and kept tally. Which you
313, if you know it,
you know it. And you won the tally of our days together, which was annoying. But I almost did. on the airport on the way home, I almost made a run back. But
and it was fun. We got to play cards on a train. We missed our train one day. That was oh man, I was so disappointed. I was despondent.
Sure, but that is traveling, and that is like things don't work out. Luggage got lost. I left my phone behind, and you didn't bring your phone, like my European number. So we were like phoneless.
We had phoneless, literally phoneless. We had a burner with us, but then we lost the burner.
Yeah, that was fun. So I mean, we just had good memories, and so anyway, we were time by ourselves, and then the kids were coming over to meet us for 5. It was just a quick trip, 5 days for them.
You got stung by jellyfish.
Yeah, that did happen. I almost forgot about that.
That was wild. Right on your behind, and the sting was in the shape of Australia.
Right. Oh my God. Here's the crazy thing: it was a vacation day in France, and so the beach was packed with people. And it was one of those beaches where it's like sandy for 50 yards, and so people are like standing in there all day long playing paddleball and catch and just talking and hanging out.
I don't want to exaggerate. Hundreds, if not thousands.
Nobody runs out of the ocean with a jellyfish sting. I don't spend hours in the ocean. I just go dip in to cool off. So I just went and I was in there for 45 seconds. And all of a sudden I felt this it's literally a sting, but anyway, and I turned and I saw the little guy and I came out. I got stung, and
your leg was throbbing for a few days, like
my lymph node in my hip got all swollen, and then so that was that. But even that was like, okay, it is what it is. We'll make the most of it. We did room service that night for dinner because I couldn't sit down, so just laid on my that was like the hardship of the jelly.
I think everyone at this point of the podcast is like, wow, rough life. Yeah. Feel really bad for you. But anyway.
It started out incredible. And then the plan was the kids came over to meet us in Paris. None of us have been to Paris before, to meet us there for 5 days. And then the kids are going to go home, and you and I were going to go on to a work trip for a few days. So do you want to tell the story what happened when we got to Paris?
Yeah, so you booked a really great hotel, kind of in the middle of it all in Paris, on
Points.
Points.
Thank you.
Shout out to Points.
American Express.
Credit card Points. And so we had adjoining rooms. We had all of our kids and our son's fiance. The girls, our daughter and son's fiance was sleeping in one part of the room, just to be clear, and our two sons on the other. And so we're all excited. We have adjoining rooms. It's just going to be a big family celebration.
Remember I told you, I was like, I feel like a kid about to go to Disneyland. I was so excited for them to come.
And we were getting a lunch over by the Eiffel Tower. We were all excited, and unfortunately, I'll never forget what happened.
The kids had literally come to the hotel room. They'd been
about an hour?
Like 10 minutes, because they were all tired and hungry. And so hey, let's just put our stuff away, get changed, and then.
And our oldest, Zion, who's almost 20, literally said he didn't sleep much on the plane and had been a little tired. And all of a sudden, something on there, forget the screams of his fiance, wonderful young lady who we love so much, Day, started screaming. And our son was having a major seizure. I don't think they call it a grand mal seizure anymore. And it's probably the most painful 5 minutes of my life, hopefully forever. The most painful for the rest of my life. And he seized up pretty considerable for a few minutes, relaxed, and then went into it again. I was running down the hallway at one point, just screaming, "Is there a doctor? Is there a doctor?" Not sure how it happened so fast. I know we did call the front desk, and the GM at this hotel was so helpful, but within, 7, 8, 9 minutes, there was a doctor there. We had a translator. Zion had kind of come back to us, which was great.
But he didn't
No, he was pretty scared. He was pretty
disoriented. And I didn't know this because I never experienced it before, but I guess your tongue goes numb after a seizure. And so he couldn't talk or enunciate or get words out. And like, Zion, do you know who I mean, this is like in retrospect, he is fine now, by the way. But I was like, Zai, do you know who I am? I was just trying to figure out. He's like, yes, your Day, his fiance. I was like, no. Yeah. I was like, know who I am? And Day is actually what she has a beautiful Spanish name that I would butcher if I tried to say, but sounds like Hannah. And then he said her full.
Said the full name, middle. Yeah,
was not speaking and enunciating his words. At that point, you're just not sure if what would have caused the seizure from when he's the age he is and all of that.
Yeah.
So Day and I proceed to take him to the hospital, and he ended up staying overnight. But it was just a wild journey. Like, literally, the Day had never been out of North America before, and here she is, her first time. She's so sweet. Stayed at the hospital with him, and not according to plan whatsoever. We didn't have our family meal all at the Eiffel Tower. I don't think we had a meal together as a family until 3 days later. A
couple, 3 days, I think.
So,
yeah.
It just.
Wow. It's definitely the fragility and brevity of life hits you like a ton of bricks, and you start to think about a lot of stuff. For the record, probably like everybody else, you realize that forgiving people, loving people is just really what matters. And then people are what matters. So it's just, it was definitely a painful time, and I'm not sure, our family, I think, we bonded and we're hopefully closer than ever, but I'm not sure I don't think I've been as hungry since, to be honest. I think it's kind of affected even, wanting to eat and all that. But, we're moving into summertime. I'm excited about the summer and what's ahead. And we're going to get some time together on the lakes of Seattle, which will be great. So,
yeah, I mean, and you and I didn't, oddly, I don't even think had this conversation, but I was so annoyed at God. I don't know if mad is the right word but annoyed. Just like, really, God, you're in charge of everything. I think our families are some of the good guys. This was our trip before our son gets married. The last time that you and I get to like dictate, like, hey, this is what we're doing as a family, you know? Just such special time that as a mom, for sure, I was looking forward to, and then to get robbed of it beyond the scariness of all of it. And I definitely had complaining moments with God. I don't know if you did. Well, then the second day that the kids were there, Zion was in the hospital, Judah got super sick. Like, we never get sick, but you didn't talk, which to me is the sign that you're actually sick. You don't talk. And I honestly just felt the loving correction of God in that moment when I was complaining to him, just to tell me, hey, do you know how incredible it is that I gave you this son? And how blessed I am to have children that I care about and to have, you know, and just that, I don't know how God does it. And I feel like he does it for you too, but his like gentle nudging corrective reminders, but that don't make you feel bad about yourself or worse about circumstances, but actually bring significant peace. And for me, that moment with God, of him just reminding me that he's actually God's son and not mine. And that was comforting for me, even though it was a bit of a correction in the middle of my complaining.
Yeah, I think ultimately, I mean, I certainly said plenty of cuss words in my alone time with God. And maybe I shouldn't admit that, but that's the truth. Was obviously frustrated and tried to take that frustration to God. And, you know, we wondered and we talked, was my body just kind of shutting down almost literally like a day after I probably spent, 26 hours in bed or something between a couple of days. It was wild. I couldn't even barely move. But I think ultimately from where I sit now, we actually did have a pretty redemptive trip and ended up making some really special memories and did some really cool stuff. I think the overwhelming sense of gratitude as it relates to all of the variables that can go wrong in this fragile life. You're just reminded again that so many things can go wrong. And I hope this isn't the kind of podcast that gets people in their head considering all the variables that could go wrong or slightly off. But we are like so fragile. A little bit of the wrong substance in our body, for instance, and it's over. And when you're seeing your firstborn son instantly, suddenly, really gone and out of control of his faculties, and we just felt so helpless. And our middle son was there trying to encourage us to roll him over so, he could still breathe. And our daughter was obviously in tears in the other room, and I'm glad she didn't come in to witness it. It's something you never forget. But in the meantime, it is interesting how much of our lifespan down here we don't think about fragility and brevity. And I know that they both rhyme, but
I don't actually
it's true.
think they rhyme. Fragility
and brevity. Yeah.
They just
come on.
Podcast will let us know fragility. They just have a common last syllable.
All right. Well, but anyways, like life is short and life is precious. And yeah, I think both you and I ended up coming away with a lot of gratitude as it pertains to that. And, I would never wish that on my worst enemy. I really mean that. And just reminded, I mean, we all have people who don't prefer us and don't like us. And if you're a public servant out there, that kind of comes with the territory these days. You're going to have critics of all kinds, and some mean well and some don't. But boy, those are moments where you're like, I actually love people. I don't want people to be harmed or hurt. Even those who seek to harm and hurt others. And, and that's, you wish that you didn't need sobering moments, but, man, God, I am reminded that God works all things together for good. And I don't think I needed that to learn anything, but it has happened, and we have learned, and certainly made the trip that much more precious and valuable. And obviously every day we've seen our firstborn son since is, man, I just want to hug him and hold him. And it's something that will always be with us, for the rest of our
He's
life.
probably like, Mom, stop hugging me. Because it was so traumatic for all of us. He doesn't remember like 6 hours. He doesn't remember anything. He was just annoyed that he was in the hospital.
Yeah, he wanted to get up off the floor of the hotel room. He's like, what are you guys doing? Let's go to the,
It's wild. Yeah, it's cool. I think for me, seeing God in that was that reminder from God that my son's not my own. My life isn't my own. My money isn't my own. My house isn't my own. And these things that we tend to, at least for me as a planner, like stake our security on. And like you talk about how fleeting those things are. But yet God is ours, and he is the same, and he is stable. And thinking about what we've built our life on, have we built our life on God, or have we built our life on things that are fleeting and can change? It's also cool for me to see, I think a lot of things in life that are tragedies, we don't know why. We'll never get the answer to why. But I do think if we're careful and if we look and we ask God for help, we can see redemption in it. We can see, hey, God, what are the things that can happen through this that can't happen through anything else? Like for me, I bonded with Zion's fiance in such an incredible way. I got to see her strength and her love for my son, which is really cool. I don't know. It's just hard to imagine as a mom, anybody loving your son as much as you do, and to realize that maybe she loves him more, like that's just cool things in the process of redemption. But our craziness did not stop with Zion's seizure on the trip. The kids they had to extend their trip for a few days because I couldn't get cleared until he could clear to fly, so he could get an MRI and an EEG and all those things, which came back normal. But our chaos and unplanned life continued as we got home, and I'll just rattle through these things because it doesn't matter. But
no, I'll give an example of something that I thought about. I got a coffee cup here, and I'm going to use the coffee cup. I don't know if it's very profound, but it's meaningful to me.
Meaningful
so I'll
to
share
you,
it.
share. Or do you want me to say the other random things first?
Yeah, say the other random
Okay, so
things
randomly,
first, yeah.
I mean, our car broke down. It's actually still yet to get towed. In the middle of it, our middle son had a tooth infection that was so bad he had to end up with a root canal, but it was over a weekend and we couldn't get him into the dentist. And
he's pounding on the floor.
He has a super high pain tolerance. And then I
like his dad.
Anyway, so he's loud like his dad, which was insane. Like literally got woken up multiple times a night of him just like pounding the floor because they don't. It just hurts your heart. After all that, I was feeling so good. I decided to do a workout with my friend that I don't normally do. She talked me into it, like a high intensity workout, but the kind with like a heart rate monitor. And I've only been doing yoga for the last year, so I'm not in this kind of shape. So I did nothing on this workout. Like there are people in this class doing serious work, and I had 5-pound dumbbells or no weight at all. And running on the treadmill during the intervals. Oh, no. I was walking. And the guy would say, put your, what's it called? Your elevation up to 11. And I was at 2. I was like, no. Cause the heart rate monitor and you aren't supposed to go too high. So, I did nothing on this workout. Well, 3 days later, I'd kind of been sore the next day, but not anything abnormally. So my arm just swelled up huge, really bizarre. I was like, that's weird, but it didn't really hurt. It was just swollen. And the next morning, it was even bigger. And you were kind of like, hey, you're like, babe, that's not normal. So I did what you're never supposed to do when you have an injury. And I Googled it. And nothing, like none of the Google images, I looked up swollen elbow or arm, like none of them fit. But then I clicked on one that's like this lady's holding up her arms. It looked just how mine looked. And it's like she had this whole story of, I don't know if I can say it right, rhabdomyolysis or whatever. And then there's another image with somebody who had the arms that looked just like mine. I clicked on it. It was the same thing.
Like Popeye arms.
Like just one Popeye arm. But it was like, really bizarre. So I clicked on it. What is this? And it's like, it is a rare but life-threatening complication from trauma or over-exercising or whatever. And like, babe, I think I need to go to urgent care. So I ended up having that. Fortunately, I had a mild case of it. Most people have to be hospitalized for it. They just treated me outpatient. So I just had to go get IVs multiple days in a row and get tested. But thank God I got to be at home. But I'm still not recovered from that. They say it can take weeks to months. It's basically like your muscles break down in such a way that put extra something in your blood that blocks your kidneys. And I don't know. It's a really bizarre, random thing. And so in the middle of that, Elliot's having to go to the dentist all the time. I literally can't even get out of bed. You were so sweet. And so you had to step up and like, you were really incredible. Just want to give you props in the moment of like, you took care of Elliot. You cooked food for us. You took care of Zion, who's still feeling a little bit out of sorts. Like that's been a journey. So, and then our dog got sick. It's just been one of those. When I had to call the vet, I almost just started chuckling, but what are you going to do? So,
or crying.
Or crying. It's one of those, I'm going to laugh or I'm going to cry. So I think laughing will be better for my laughing. But yeah, looking for the redemption in all of that, just seeing you serve your family and take care of us, seeing, just having me being forced to lie down. I watched 2 seasons of The Amazing Race because I could sleep during it.
The number one show that stresses me out. I really enjoy
but what's your analogy with the coffee cup now that?
I think it's like splitting the difference between finite and forever and like understanding between the two, what is ultimately valuable. And like, I have this coffee cup and I could tell you like, this is my coffee. And you'd be like, oh, cool. Like, I love my coffee. That's amazing. But everyone who understands the disposable nature of this coffee, at some point, if I keep telling you how awesome and how much I love my coffee, you're going to be like, at one point, somebody in your life's going to go, yo, bro, to be honest, it's coffee. Like, okay, we get it, but it's just
I will
coffee.
never say that because coffee is very important in life, but understand.
But what I mean is this actual, cup that will be thrown away. And what I mean is like, eventually you could talk about how great this is, but everyone knows it's to be consumed. And then you're going to need to get another one. Now, coffee in general, as a constant in your life is, awesome. And we all love it. But like this particular coffee is fading, finite, and this will be thrown away by the end of this recording. But it's amazing how we understand the scale of how limited and disposable, temporary, and to be consumed. And this is only as valuable as it serves a human and is enjoyed. And then it's gone. And I think in these experiences, it's just, I feel so inadequate. I feel so broken. I feel so unstable at times. And it's like a renewed detachment from these finite things that I can fill my days with. And why is a house, a car, a technology, clothes, or jewelry any different? It's not much different. Now, all the economists and all the money managers will tell you, this is an asset, invest in your asset. We can talk about, getting things that appreciate and all that. But wait a minute, like the bumper sticker is not true. He who dies with the most toys does not win. Those toys are just gone. And so as much as I love financial,
do you mean that bumper sticker is true?
It's not true. I said, as much as we know that bumper sticker,
he who dies,
and we've heard of it, it's not true. He who dies with the most toys doesn't win.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't win. I'm sorry if I didn't complete the thought.
Anyway,
but I think, and whether or not this applies to, I might have said that wrong, but whether or not this applies to, I don't think, Chelsea, I don't think your life has been ruled by things and possessions and stuff. But I think, I was raised in a family, we didn't have much. And so then you get a little bit, an opportunity, and you get excited. But it's still just a paper cup with coffee. Like, it's not much more. I think you enjoy the coffee. I think you should enjoy that vehicle. You should enjoy your homes. You should enjoy flowers, even though they're fleeting and fading. But what really matters is what's forever. And, you don't even have to be someone who worships the person and way of Jesus to understand, like, finite and forever, which is more valuable? Well, it's not even close. It's what's forever. And humans are forever. And the divine is forever. And love, in that sense is forever. And I just, you're just reminded again, and maybe I'm the one that needed to be reminded. But I hope in some small way the pain of this spring, summer season, which thank God is coming to a close, and we're going to enjoy the month of July and August. It's going to be great. And then our oldest son has a wedding pending in September, and we're excited. But man, I'm reminded how fickle and finite this life is, and to really connect again to what is forever.
But I'll take it a step further, even to what you're saying, because you're talking about finite things of houses and cars and jewelry or whatever. And that was some of our car. I'm just still waiting to be towed. But, humans are forever, but they're not forever on this planet. They're not forever the way that we know it on this earth. Our health is not forever. And it's crazy, those 5 minutes of Zion seizure, like how many thoughts go through your head, and, when you just don't know. And that realizing this is my son, but he's not forever. And he's not forever here on this planet with me. And if all of that should radically change in these moments, there's somewhere I can have a peace, or, for me, my health, which has been a bit of a struggle anyway. And then to get this stupid, random, rare thing, just that heck away. But it's like, that is different than houses or cars or things, when it's your health, when it's your babies, when it's your whatever.
Yeah.
And finding the redemption and the goodness of God in that, and realizing that our health is not forever. Even though we invest a lot of money in trying to be healthy, and are so grateful for the medical system, by the way, which is just had an indoctrination into these last few weeks. So, but God is, and if we can see him and grab hold of that, then we can find him when things don't go according to plan, when things are chaotic. And it doesn't make things better when you're so frustrated, that things aren't going to plan, but it can give a sense of deep peace in the middle of it. And we've still had to fight for it this last season, probably me more than you, but because you've been so busy just running around and helping all of us. But
that's very nice.
Yeah, it's been great. I'm thinking too, coming up on this week, the first presidential debates, how much we try to put significance and weight and eternal weight and significance on those things. And I'm sure they're significant on some level, but if we could all be reminded and remembering those things. Yeah, but a presidency is not eternal. A leader, a government is not eternal. And keep things in perspective that way. I think that can help some people in their enjoy summertime and enjoy moments with family and enjoy the things that we do have, even when they're not perfect and not according to plan.
Yeah, and I think because of the finite and fickle nature of life, it also is connecting to what's eternal and forever, and then what is temporary, to lean in and be present, as they say, in the moment, because it's well and truly all we have this side of eternity.
Yeah.
I got to baptize a friend in a lake last week, a new friend, and his mom passed when he was a young boy. And I said, "Is there anything you want to say before we dunk you, baptize you?" And he said, "Mom, I don't know if you can hear me, but I know I'm going to see you again." And, whatever anybody out there believes about faith, I just can't help but say how wonderfully pure my friend seemed and felt to me in that moment, where out of nowhere he was deciding to become someone who follows the person and way of Jesus. He just had this sense. He had never spoken like that before.
Sure.
"Mom, I'm gonna see you again," where before he didn't know if he'd ever see his mom again. And I just, that hope of forever and that hope of reuniting is beautiful. And it can, in that moment, you and I both had to have thoughts that were fast, but they were there. Like, what if this is the end? And you don't want to think those thoughts, but you have to in that moment, particularly what we were witnessing and feeling. And, I just thank God for the perspective of forever that helps you make the most of the seconds, minutes, and moments we have down here. So you're right. We're leaning in, man. This summer we are trying to maximize every day with these babies and with each other. And I'd like to say we had very good morning sex this morning. Like, Judah, you can't be that detailed.
Yeah, but let's be honest. It was like the second time in like 3 weeks because I not had it in me. So also,
I wasn't going to say that. That's for you to say. I'm not saying.
Like, shoot, when your body isn't quite right. Anyway, we'll go there. Yeah, it made me think, like, why did Zion have to have a seizure for me to hug the crap out of him every time I see him? And whatever that looks like in your life, to enjoy moments and days and things that are not going to be here forever, to stop and do that. Do you want to pray for people who are feeling, maybe wondering where God is right now, and conclude our episode?
Yeah, I do. I'm just reminded of that moment when Jesus cooks breakfast for some of the disciples and Peter after Peter had denied him. And Jesus is now resurrected. He's returned from the grave, and he fixes breakfast, which is my favorite meal. And he says to Peter, "Peter, do you love me?" And Peter says, you know. But one of my favorite thoughts that changed my life forever was, Jesus knows that if you're out there and he knows that you love him, but he wants you to know today that you're a lover of God and you're a lover of people. And sometimes even those out there of faith, they're like, "Man, I know God loves me." Yeah, but do you know that you love God? Because you do. And you're probably pretty hard on yourself. And so I'm praying in a way that will speak to you. And so, yeah, let's pray. God, I thank you for right now, first of all, and even why Chell and I are recording this, that you can use technology to meet people in the minutes and moments that they watch this episode. There is undoubtedly so many people who feel alone, and so many people listening to this prayer who feel like a failure, and they feel unqualified. And maybe they felt like Chelsea and I felt, where suddenly in 5 minutes your whole world is crashing. And you feel so fragile and so broken. Can imagine that there are friends of mine listening right now who feel like that. So in the same way that you comforted my wife and I ask that you would comfort my friends listening to this prayer right now. Be as real to them as their next breath. Minister to them and remind them that they love you and they're aware of you. And you love them and you're aware of them and you're with them. Ask all these things by invoking your name, which is indicative of who you are. You are Jesus, the Savior and Deliverer. And we thank you for that. Amen.
Amen.